In the Hall of Fame of American muscle, names like Shelby, Hemi, and Yanko are etched in stone. They're the gods of the quarter mile. But in the lineage of the Ford Mustang, the car that literally invented the pony car segment, one badge commands a different kind of respect: Boss. We all know the legends. The Boss 429 was the NASCAR-bred sledgehammer. The Boss 302 was the corner-carving scalpel designed to dominate the Trans Am circuit. These are the golden children, but there is a third sibling, a forgotten middle child that arrived just as the muscle car party was being shut down by the cops. It might just be the most potent, well-rounded, and misunderstood machine Ford ever built. This is the story of the 1971 Ford Mustang Boss 351. To understand why the Boss 351 is such an anomaly, we have to look at the world it was born into. The year is 1971. The 1960s, a decade of free love, cheap gas, and horsepower wars, are effectively over. The automotive industry is standing on a precipice, staring down the barrel of looming emissions regulations, rising insurance premiums, and a shift in consumer taste.
The Mustang itself was going through an identity crisis. When the first Mustang launched in 1964 and a half, it was a revelation because it was small, light, and sporty. It was a pony. But by 1971, that pony had been hitting the buffet line hard. Ford executives, believing that American buyers wanted more luxury and more interior space, authorized a complete redesign for the 71 model year, and the result was massive. Compared to the original 1965 model, the 1971 Mustang had grown 8 inches in length and widened by a full 6 inches. It was heavier, thicker, and imposed a presence that was less agile athlete and more heavyweight boxer. The design language was sharp, flat, and aggressive, a radical departure from the sculpted curves of the 60s. This new look was polarizing, to say the least. It was a love-it-or-hate-it aesthetic. Even the father of the Mustang, Lee Iacocca, famously looked at the swelling dimensions of this generation and called it a fat pig.
But Ford wasn't just making the car bigger for the sake of legroom. They were widening the engine bay to accommodate the massive big block 429 engines. They were chasing displacement supremacy, just as the market was starting to care about efficiency. It was a classic case of bad timing. And in the middle of this controversial redesign, Ford engineers were tasked with keeping the Boss legacy alive. They needed a car that could handle the extra bulk of the new chassis, but still perform like a race car. They couldn't just slap a badge on a heavy cruiser and call it a day. They needed a miracle. The tragedy of the Boss 351 is that it was a weapon built for a war that was canceled before the first shot was fired. Initially, this car had one purpose: SCCA Trans Am homologation. Ford wanted to take this new, larger Mustang body and smash Chevrolet's Camaro on the track. The Boss 351 was engineered to be the street-legal version of the race car that would dominate the 1971 season. But then, the hammer dropped. In a move that shocked the industry, Ford pulled out of all factory-backed motorsports in 1971. The pressure from safety advocates, who argued that win on Sunday, sell on Monday, was contributing to dangerous driving on public roads, became too much. The racing program was axed. The race car was dead. But the road car, it was already developed. Ford had sunk millions into R&D, and they weren't about to throw it away. So they released the Boss 351 into the wild as a street brawler with no racing series to champion. And what a brawler it was. The heart of this beast was the R-Code 351 Cleveland V8. Now, if you know Fords, you know the Cleveland is hallowed ground. This wasn't just a truck engine dropped into a coupe. This was a high-performance masterpiece. It featured a 4-bolt main block for incredible durability under stress. It had forged connecting rods and aluminum pistons, premium hardware usually reserved for exotic machinery. The cylinder heads were the stuff of legend, featuring massive canted valves that flowed air like a fire hose.
To feed this hungry beast, Ford commissioned a specific carburetor unique to this car, the Autolite Model 4300D. a 750 CFM unit designed to dump fuel perfectly across the rev range. With a mechanical solid lifter camshaft and a high compression ratio of 11.7 to 1, the engine was a ticking time bomb of performance. On paper, it was rated at 330 horsepower at 5,400 RPM and 370 pound-feet of torque. Now, compare that to the Mach 1 of the same year, which you could get with the massive 429 Cobra jet. The Boss 351 was down only about 40 horsepower compared to an engine that was significantly larger and heavier. But horsepower numbers only tell half the story. The Boss wasn't about peak numbers, it was about balance. Ford paired this screaming V8 with a mandatory 4-speed manual transmission, a top loader that required muscle to shift, and a 3.91-to-1 limited-slip traction lock rear end. This gearing meant the car launched violently. 0 to 60 happened in 6.3 seconds. The quarter-mile flew by in the high 13-second range. For 1971, this was supercar territory.
But they didn't stop at the drivetrain. The suspension was a carryover of the lessons learned from the previous Boss 302. It received the competition suspension package. We're talking stiffer springs, heavy-duty shocks, and staggered rear shocks to prevent wheel hop during hard launches. It had sway bars front and rear to keep that big, wide body flat in the corners. Braking was handled by power discs up front and drums in the rear. Car and Driver magazine tested it in 1971 and were stunned. They praised the engine's flexibility and the chassis' composure. In a world where muscle cars were becoming bloated luxury barges, the Boss 351 was a serious, stiff-riding, loud, and angry machine. It was a race car in a tuxedo that didn't quite fit. However, no car is perfect, and the Boss 351 suffered from the same fatal flaws that plagued the entire 1971 to 1973 Mustang lineup. While the mechanicals were sublime, the user experience was compromised. The first issue was the interior. For a car that was supposed to be a step up in luxury, the cockpit was surprisingly bland. It lacked the distinct style of the earlier Mustangs, but the real crime was visibility. The 1971 fastback design, with its nearly horizontal rear roofline, created a massive blind spot. Looking out the rearview mirror was like looking through a mail slot in a bunker. Changing lanes was an act of faith. Reversing was a gamble. There were mid-engine Italian exotics with better rearward visibility than this Ford.
If you want to park one of these in your garage today, you better bring your checkbook. According to valuation experts like Haggerty, a good condition driver will set you back around $64,000. But if you want a concourse quality, low mileage survivor, you are looking well into the six figures. The 1971 Boss 351 proves that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover or a car by its size. It was a fat pig that could dance like a ballerina and punch like a heavyweight. It was the forgotten boss, the last true warrior of the golden age, and perhaps the best Mustang Ford ever built. Thanks for watching. If you love deep dives into automotive history, hit that like button and subscribe. Let us know in the comments. Would you take this over a Boss 302? See you in the next one.